going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
We need to get community. We need this thing to be bigger than just our little circle of players and coaches.
Are you kidding me? Touchdown, Oregon.
With 2 seconds on the clock. He hits it!
That's the bigger picture in this thing, allowing the community to celebrate the hard work, blue-collar mentality this group brings to the table.
And the Ducks have won it. The Ducks have won.
We get to struggle together, and we get to have joy together.
The Ducks are Pac-12 champions.
I am so proud right now to be the head coach at Oregon.
Oregon's a Fiesta Bowl champion in a 12-win season.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
A busy day around the Oregon Sports Network. Rob Mullens is here, Oregon Athletic Director, to kick off a Duck Insider with Athletic Director Tuesday. Also, it's basketball season. Tip-Off Tuesday Basketball Coaches Show debuts today.
Woo!
Rob, that's
Here
right.
we go.
Dana Altman, Kelly Graves, Grace Van Sluten, and Jermaine Kusnard, our guests for week one of Tip-Off Tuesday. Men's basketball starting out 4-0. A tough schedule to start for Oregon women's basketball. They're back at home this week. We'll break it all down. We'll also talk with Chris Clayton. He's been filling in for Terry Johns on the broadcast network the last few months, and Chris is with you for the first Tip-Off Tuesday along with myself today, which means we do the introductory segment with Chris Clayton on Tip-Off Tuesday today. But before we talk hoops, we're going to get to some football, some volleyball, more basketball, anything else that Rob Mullens wants to highlight, because we actually haven't talked to you since the new year turned. I just asked before we started, how long do I say Happy New Year to people? It's the 9th, but it's the first time you've been on the air with us, so Happy New Year, Rob.
Happy New Year, yeah. 2023 is behind us, and here we go, 2024.
So how was 2023 for you? Sum it up for us.
Oh, it was great. 12-win football seasons are hard to come by.
Yeah.
Lots of exciting moments, some great wins. So, yeah, it was good.
I usually ask you when we come into this year, like state of the department when we go into December. We didn't have you in December, so now I'm going to ask you state of the department. Where are we at?
It's like everything, right? We're heavily invested. We're extremely competitive. And I think, we've a lot of positives, but more opportunity out there, and we want to take advantage of those opportunities.
Well, you talk about 12-win football season. Let's review it a little bit. And maybe can I start with an individual, Rob? Because
Sure.
The Campbell Trophy is such a huge deal. And Bo Nix, the winner of the Campbell Trophy, joins another Oregon quarterback recently in Justin Herbert, who won the Campbell Trophy. It's called the Academic Heisman. What does that mean to the university?
It is a big deal. I mean, if you get a chance to go if you get a chance to see the finalists,
Yeah.
and then to go to the National Football Foundation event. So that award is presented at the same event where the Hall of Fame class gets inducted, and we had LaMichael James at that event. And to hear Bo's name called, and as you said, to be the second in the last 4 years or 5 years,
5 years,
is pretty remarkable, because even if you look at I can't remember if it was 12 or 16 finalists for the award, the credentials are strong.
Yeah.
And obviously Bo had tremendous credentials, but it is a huge honor. You join an impressive fraternity, and then they also honor the winner of the Campbell Trophy in New York at the New York Athletic Club Monday following the Heisman. So again, first class event, pretty special for Bo. It was great to spend time with LaMichael and his guests, Bo and Izzy, mom and dad, and their family in Las Vegas. Then again in New York, it was quite a couple of weeks.
I said this on the show that it's sort of like the awards circuit for Bo Nix, and that's a great thing, right? Like you want student athletes to be in those circuits in a
no
way.
doubt, and obviously Bo and his families love college football.
Yeah.
His family loves college football, Izzy. So they embraced it all and took on the full experience, as you would expect someone that's worked so hard and achieved so much to do, and it was fun to be able to spend it with him. And think about the week. We played in the conference champ game on Friday.
Yeah.
We're in Vegas. He wins the Campbell Trophy on, what was that, Tuesday, I think. Flies, thank you, Ed Miletus, for supporting that. flies to Alabama on Wednesday to watch his dad win a state championship, his dad's team win a state championship. Then Mom, Dad, Izzy, Bo, and Ed come to New York to be a part of the, he's a Heisman finalist. So what an incredible 10 days. And then Monday night, at the New York Athletic Club, he gets honored as the winner of the Campbell Trophy. So it was a fun 10 days.
Takes into account what you do on the field, what you do in the classroom, what you do in the community. I mean, that's a highly deserving Bo Nix to win that.
No doubt. And when you look at what the past winners are doing, I mean, obviously people would know the high performers in football, the Peyton Mannings of the world that have won the award, the Justin Herberts. Right. But there's a lot of doctors, lawyers, and really successful business people that were also Campbell Trophy winners.
Something I thought about and mentioned on the show, Rob, that I feel like it really encapsulates what Oregon has been over the last decade or so is Michael James gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, so that's going on, and then you have Bo Nix and just what the program, what the university has been through. Like, I just thought it was amazing to think about that decade-long period and how much success there's been around here with those two guys maybe embodying it a little bit.
Yeah, and you probably saw yesterday the National Football Foundation announced the 2024 class of inductees. LaMichael was like a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Right, yeah.
And you look at that class of Hall of Famers that he went in with, names like Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
And then you're at that event, black tie event, and you have Marcus Allen stopping by your table, Ronnie Lott coming by to say hello. And it was a cool thing. Dan Lanning growing up a Chiefs fan and Marcus Allen, and Dan made sure to make that connection, which was pretty cool. It's a who's who of football, and it was fun to see Bo and his family enjoy it, and again, to be recognized for the incredible work that he's done in the classroom and on the field, but in general for the sport.
Yeah. Yeah, Rob Mullens with us. All right, generally now football, 12-win season. It's only the 6th ever. All of them have come in the last, 14 years.
Wow.
Which is pretty remarkable.
Really remarkable.
To think about the success of the program. And, hey, a New Year's Six bowl win, always going to love that.
Always going to love it. Obviously there's a lot of conversation this bowl season, but, Bo deciding to play in the game and so many others deciding to play in the game. And let's be candid. Sometimes when you get in a New Year's Six bowls are hard to get to. And sometimes you see the opponent and at least for the fan base, there's a letdown. But the way that our coaches and our student athletes stayed engaged, they were playing an undefeated Conference USA champion. And so, locked in, and it showed up in the game, which was tremendous.
Yeah, and talk about a first-class experience for student athletes too. I mean, that's what those bowl games are.
They really are. You get a chance. You're only guaranteed 12, right? You got a 13th in the conference champ game, and then we got a 14th in the Fiesta Bowl. And the Fiesta Bowl is a phenomenal host. They take care of everything for the student athletes. They set it up for an experience, and our staff, student athletes, had a phenomenal time. And thanks again to the Fiesta Bowl. They are first class operation. They have tons of volunteers, and they are there to make sure that they deliver on their stellar reputation of hospitality, and we experienced that.
And all that being said, too, again, candidly, if I could, I understand that the goal is to win every game. You always want to win the last one. And what does it say? It says an awful lot about the program that we're talking about a first-class Fiesta Bowl experience, and yet the team's saying, boy, would have been nice to be playing last night too. That says a lot about where the program is.
No doubt. And but again, they were locked in. There's high expectations for this program, and for our student athletes to stay focused. And I thought Dan did a tremendous job of saying, we still have the pen in our hand. We need to write that conclusion or that final chapter. And they sure did that. It was great to see that performance.
Yeah, and the expectation sure makes it fun, doesn't it? I mean, already heading into next season, everybody looking ahead. Some of the preseason polls are the way too early polls, if you will. Ducks are in the top 5 already.
I know way too early. We just again, we need everybody, fans, all of us. If we want to be a top 10 program, year in and year out. Sustaining that is really, really difficult, and it requires an investment from all of us.
Yeah, no doubt. And talking about that too, like bigger picture, if we could, we have not yet talked since the Big Ten schedule has sort of come to fruition, and then Oregon State on the schedule. So just state of the football program moving forward. A lot of excitement.
No, obviously a ton of excitement, as you said, coming off a 12-win season. Lots of energy, a top 5 recruiting class, performing well in the portal. An incredible home schedule, and we're moving into a league where you're going to go on the road into some really difficult places. Just about everybody's sold out. And as we've seen, for those that have been to Autzen Stadium, when Nebraska comes to town, when Michigan State comes to town, they travel hard. When the Buckeyes come to Autzen Stadium, if we don't buy all of our tickets, they're going to buy them. So let's keep it green and yellow.
Yeah, that's true. And and even too, like going on the road, I'm excited to go to some of these new venues.
No doubt. We've been to Ohio State and saw what that's like. Michigan State, Nebraska. Again, I think Nebraska has 300 and some straight sellouts. Ohio State, 100,000. Michigan, 110,000. Penn State, over 100,000. It's going to – I think Casey said it best, right? Some of the cathedrals of college football. I've gotten a ton of outreach from East Coast Ducks, Midwest Ducks that are excited. And we've seen that when we've shown up in Atlanta or Charlottesville or Knoxville. But it's going to take all of us because, look at what the Big Ten did this year.
That's right.
We're going to play the 2 teams that were in the national championship game and another 2 that were in New Year's 6 bowl games.
Right.
So, it's a difficult league, but, we want to be competing against the best, and here's our opportunity.
And a new 12-team playoff next year changes the dynamic.
Changes it significantly, and obviously, I'm excited for that as well. It's been a decade of the 4-team. It's served well. We saw what the TV ratings were this entire college football season. They've been really good in the bowl games. I'm sure last night's number was huge. So still lots of interest. But now you get to this new format with those first week's games at home sites. Then you go to quarterfinals. It's going to be really exciting.
Rob Mullens joining us. The real question is, do you have a heavy coat ready for next year? Have you updated the coat wardrobe?
Yeah, I'm just like we have need one today. We've needed that in this league a few times.
That's right.
Too.
That's right. Yeah, it's funny. I started thinking about I probably need to put in the heavy coat order for the broadcast crew next year.
Yeah, you probably do. Although we were monitoring it this year, there's probably one road trip in mid-November that we're likely to get a little chilly.
Yeah, just a bit, just a little bit chilly. Talking too about the excitement around the program and heading toward the future. Signing day, the first one has come and gone, but a chance to celebrate the entire class coming up in February too.
Yeah, no, obviously we there's so much attention around those signing classes, and now that we have the early signing period, it culminates in a different time frame, but we still get together at various sites and celebrate with our fans, and it's always a fan favorite event.
Yeah. Talking about scheduling too, bigger picture. Since we had you on, the announcement coming with Oregon State on the schedule.
Yeah. Again, we mentioned that was a priority. There were a lot of moving parts to pull that off. Eric Rodell did a lot of the heavy lifting to make that happen. But thank you to Boise State, to Texas Tech, for working with us to make that happen, and we're excited to be able to finalize that 2024 schedule.
Yeah, well, man, I tell you, I am amazed at the puzzle pieces, and I've said this to you before, and I've said this to Eric too, since the pandemic, just the amount of moving parts that's gone into football scheduling, it's a tremendous lift right now.
It is, and some of it's done so far in advance. That's why when you need to do things in a short window, they become even more difficult. But Eric logged a lot of minutes on the phone to get those parts situated in the right place.
Yeah. All right, quick timeout with Rob Mullens. More to come. We'll talk a little hoops. Been a while since we've talked, so a few other topics to get to as well. Duck Insider continues on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear winter, Toyota can't get enough of you because Toyota's got 22 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/23.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by your local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear winter, Toyota can't get enough of you because Toyota's got 22 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/23.
This is Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Into the building for the first time after the shooting. It was crippling, but it had to be preserved.
In response to the Pulse nightclub shooting that affected the LGBTQ community, Barbara Poma, owner of Pulse, founded the One Pulse Foundation to honor Pulse victims and survivors.
If you're an ally of this community, speak out. There are more of us together than apart. It is the power of love in its rawest form.
Join the fight for LGBTQ acceptance. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because feeling full can sound like this.
How did the interview go?
I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
And like this.
Mom, I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/act now. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
We're back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. It's Athletic Director Tuesday with Rob Mullens. On the schedule front, Alex actually asked a question that I didn't ask specifically, but about the future of non-conference scheduling. Now that the dust has settled a bit, I guess. I don't know. Does the dust ever settle in college athletics anymore?
No, it doesn't feel like it. But, our schedule is set out for years. We have an Oklahoma State home and home, a Baylor home and home in the future. There's a lot that are on there.
Yeah, so you start to kind of piece that together, I guess, is the best way to answer that question.
Yeah, and obviously we had Ohio State on the future home schedule,
right.
Michigan, or home and home, and then Michigan State. So obviously those are now going to be conference games. So we'll work to fill those spots in.
So the dust never settles in college athletics.
True.
Moving forward, men's basketball starting 4-0 for the first time since the 16-17 season in the Pac-12. Good start for the Ducks.
Great start. Obviously battling some injuries with Nate and Fale, and then some other nicks and bruises here and there. But again, Dana Altman working his magic, right? Finding the formula and the pieces to put together. Really remarkable to think first 4-0 in the Pac-12 for the first time since the Final Four team.
That's right.
So hopefully that's a good omen.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
And the Final Four's in Phoenix. Wait, we're starting to put these things together.
The Final Four is in Phoenix. That's true. Yeah, Ducks might be very, very well back in that.
Here we go.
Why
not?
Months. Yeah, it's been amazing to watch the way that the team has had to change. Honestly, playing small, the offense looks a lot different. The defense is going to be the focus in practice this week. Cal, 5 o'clock. Cal's feeling pretty good right now, coming off a win over UCLA. Big game on Saturday at Matt Knight.
Big game. Our team hasn't been home in a while.
Yeah.
They've absolutely performed. It's a team that's easy to embrace, right? As you said, lots of people accepting the roles. They playing extremely hard. Different guys on different nights. Obviously, what Jackson's done, and then you look at Rigsby and his numbers. Right. There's a lot of fun things. I hope we can pack Matthew Knight Arena.
Me too.
Because this team has really earned that, and sometimes we can all be a little fickle, right? And we give the show me. Well, they've shown us, and so now is our opportunity to show them and show up.
And what's amazing? So thinking about how the Ducks have had to change. This is my fun stat of the year for you. Oregon in the first 9 games of the season, 9 different leading scorers.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's amazing the way that this team has adapted. You get to see Mookie Cook coming back now in person. There's a lot of fun around
so you
basketball.
got the Oregon connection, the way these guys are playing, and you can get in for $10 for a Pac-12 basketball game on a Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I like the 5 o'clock tip, by the way.
I love the 5 o'clock tip.
I'm a fan. My son's bedtime, he's a little over a year old, so the noon tip doesn't work for nap time, Rob. And the 6 o'clock tip's a little late for bedtime. 4 or 5 o'clock, it's the only window.
Glad we could work that out for you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. So to whoever the scheduling gurus of the Pac-12 and TV, thanks. So this will be the one I think that he can make it to.
There we go.
Start him young, right?
Look, absolutely. Yeah. You can never be too early.
Yeah, start him young. Women's basketball.
It's funny. Men's basketball, now that I have a freshman in college.
Right.
And then we had a period where, we had the pandemic where there weren't. It's funny. People see my kids now and they're shocked at how old they are
right.
because they envision them in their basketball seats as, 5 and 7 year olds.
Right.
And now they're 19 and 17.
Yeah,
It happens fast.
I'll get there. Everyone's been telling me that it happens really fast. And I'm like, when can he stay up to watch a basketball game?
Right.
So I'm waiting there. I'm going to get there. Rob Mullens joining us. Women's basketball, they're at home this weekend too.
Yeah, again, another opportunity. Obviously, as you said, they've played a difficult schedule out of the gate. And, we dominated this league for 4 years.
Yeah.
And now we're not in that position, so teams are taking it out on us.
That's true.
So obviously our investment is still really high in women's basketball. Believe in the leadership, but obviously some work to do.
Yeah, certainly. And Coach Graves on Tip-Off Tuesday coming up, but a little bit behind the broadcast. Chris actually talked with Coach Graves yesterday based on their schedules lining up. So I can tell you that I think that you'll like his summation of where things are and what they need to work on moving forward, because there's always things to work on.
Absolutely. But again, there's a bunch of student athletes that are playing their hearts out.
Yeah.
They are working extremely
hard. They play hard.
They play really hard, really proud of how they continue to work.
Yeah. We also have not had you on since volleyball season came to a close, so I wanted to make sure to ask you about that. Back-to-back Elite Eight runs for that team, and they've been razor close to the Final Four.
So close. We were tracking it close down the stretch, too, because in volleyball you get a chance to host. And, again, we've been right there on that top 4 seed close to hosting. And in both elite games, we've been in incredible road environments against the home team. I was in Louisville, 15,000 cheering against us in a 5-setter. Wisconsin may have been the best team in the country at the end of the year. Again, another incredible environment. I would love – both of those venues had more people in them than we can even fit in Matthew Knight Arena.
Isn't that amazing?
But it would be fun to be able to get a top 4 seed and have that opportunity to share that with our community.
And shoot, you talk about moving to the Big Ten. In volleyball, it's the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and everybody else. That's
no
the way
doubt.
it's gone.
And the depth of volleyball in the Big Ten and the incredible support. We're going to go on the road and play in front of multiple crowds of 10,000 or more. You've seen what Fox and the Big Ten Network have done on volleyball broadcasts. They've really brought this to the world to where now they're getting incredible ratings on big matches. So what this league is doing for the sport is incredible, and it'll be a huge lift for ours. But, again, here's another opportunity. We're going to have to raise our game as a home court advantage because we're getting ready to go into some really, really big environments.
And traveling fan bases again. We see that around the Big Ten in volleyball.
Well, yeah, when Nebraska comes here, I worked at Kentucky. Yeah. When Kentucky basketball went on the road, we outnumbered home fan bases sometimes. When Nebraska comes here, that is a risk if you don't show up.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that you've been asked this because I've gotten asked this about 5, 6, 7 times by now. Are we ever going to play a volleyball game at Hayward or at Matthew Knight or at Autzen Stadium now because just an example of how that sport has grown and some of those marquee matchups that have been in cool venues.
And we saw what Nebraska did with 94,000 at Memorial Stadium. So we're always open to those kind of creative ideas. But what we need to start averaging a little more than what we're averaging, even though we broke a record at Matthew Knight Arena. And once we start doing that, then we can start thinking about these creative big opportunities.
Well, I can tell you that the head coach has already agreed to do another a fun thing, I'll put it that way, if another season ticket record gets broken next season. So.
Yeah, that's great. And again, we're making progress, but we probably need to speed that up given where we're headed.
I'm in. So Coach Ulmer, he'll be back on the show. Last year he did the national anthem. Really well, by the way. I can't remember if you were there or not.
I wasn't. I was traveling.
He nailed it, Rob.
The great thing about him is he will own it.
He did.
And he's not afraid to go all in. Yeah. That's what makes him successful.
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome to see. So we'll come up with something for those of you who like a little extra incentive for coming out to volleyball and getting some
Maybe we should
tickets.
ask the fan base to give ideas.
I did. Yeah. Please suggest more. So I suggested, hey, Matt, why don't you dye your hair green? And he was like, no.
Don't go to the hair.
He said, don't go to the hair.
That stuff is perfect.
But I thought, look, it washes out after one wear, and he suggested singing the anthem.
Okay.
So Coach Ulmer's open to suggestion. We're going to come up with something fun, I promise. And talk about that, like they're going to be practicing in the spring before we know it here.
Yeah.
Baseball practice, softball practice starts this month. Indoor track and field is back in action as well, Rob.
This weekend.
Yeah.
I know. Here we go. And we're in that overlap, winter, spring, and it cranks up. So lots of opportunities to get out, support the Ducks. Excited to see, there's always this energy about a new season. So I've been out to PK Park and seen some of the players in there doing some individual work. I was in the Mo over the weekend, and the softball coaches were hosting a camp and a clinic.
Right.
So there's lots of stuff happening.
Yeah, the Jane Sanders Stadium Classic is going to come up for the first time. That's going to be fun. The defending national runner-up will be in town for Oregon softball.
Yeah, and Molly Sanders joined us at the Fiesta Bowl, so got to spend some time with Molly, and she's excited. And so, that's such a special venue with so much meaning.
Exactly. I mean, I was just going to say, talk about showcasing a great venue. That's just one example. All those are going to be here before we know it. We'll be able to cover that more and more. Rob, thanks so much for taking the time. Always really appreciate it. Did we miss anything?
No, I think we did a great job of catch-up. Here we go. Now we'll get back on a regular schedule.
Yeah, well,
whatever that is.
I was going to say, is there such a thing anymore? Rob Mullens, Oregon Athletic Director. From one meeting to the next, thanks for the time.
All right, appreciate it.
We're going to get a timeout when we come back. Getting to know Chris Clayton a little bit. Take you inside what brought him to Oregon after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer.
In response to attacks against Asian Americans, Maddie Park raised over $250,000 to donate cab rides to the Asian community.
There is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
Support the Asian community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. OnPoint people are the point. I'm Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studios. So coming up this afternoon, if you're going to watch the show live, we do tip off Tuesday from 2:30 to 3:30 across the Oregon basketball social media channels and here on the Go Ducks YouTube if you're watching Duck Insider via YouTube. And then across the Oregon Sports Network, 7 o'clock on your local Oregon Sports Network affiliate station. We'll also have it available on the OSN podcast for those of you who like to listen to the show on demand. Tip off Tuesday, our basketball coaches show. Back this week as we get into basketball season. And, this has been a up and down year for both programs, but for men's basketball, I'll tell you, I've been really impressed with a lot of things hitting in the right spot despite all the injuries. Now, for women's basketball, they have been the class of this conference for the last 4, maybe even 5, 6 years, and it goes in waves sometimes, but starting out 0-3 in Pac-12 play, this is an opportunity at home this weekend for women's basketball, I think, to bounce back. And Chris Clayton has been filling in for us for Terry Johns, who's recovering from a medical situation, and Chris has done, I got to tell you, a tremendous job filling in on women's basketball. And perhaps the biggest compliment I can give him is that Bev Smith thinks that he does a good job. When the Oregon Athletics Hall of Famer says that he's doing it right, that's something. And I thought, he's going to be helping us out with Tip-Off Tuesday doing interviews, and we've yet to have him in the Country Financial studio. He's been filling in on women's basketball, and thought we'd have a chance to get to know Chris Clayton. I sat down with him yesterday. All right, let's just get this tradition out of the way off the bat. Chris Clayton joining us. He's been on the call for Oregon women's basketball, and we have yet to have him come into the Country Financial studio. But with Tip-Off Tuesday coming up, I thought, well, we need to do the Get to Know You segment. And Chris, I don't know if you are familiar with the Get to Know You segment here on Duck Insider. Are you familiar?
I think so. It's 2 minutes, tell your life story. I knew it.
All right, so
I watched.
We're ready to roll. I've got the stopwatch ready.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so the 2-minute life story of Chris Clayton, go.
All right, I'm from Medford, Oregon, from Southern Oregon. I'm actually from Roosh for the Southern Oregon Duck Insider fans out there.
Let's go!
Let's be specific here. And I love basketball, love sports growing up. I realized pretty quickly I'm just not good enough and not tall enough. So about 7th grade, I was like, I don't think I'm going to make the NBA. I don't think it's going to happen. So it's like, how do I keep in sports? And I was thinking, maybe I'll write about sports. Maybe I'll be an agent. Maybe I don't know. I'll figure something out. And I tried broadcasting freshman year of college. Joey Mack with the student radio station KWVA gave me the opportunity.
Shout out.
Shout out. That's where I started. And he, for some reason, gave me a headset, a microphone, an opportunity. And that was his biggest mistake he's ever made in his career. But no, I fell in love with it immediately, and even more specifically, play-by-play and being part of live games and part of the action is something I just fell in love with. So started doing radio play-by-play with that, and have gone in my career. I had a job in Iowa, North Carolina, started doing TV play-by-play in North Dakota. So now I live in Portland for right now, and I do freelance play-by-play with different TV and radio broadcasts. And is that 2 minutes?
No.
Wow, okay.
Minute 18.
What else? Wow, really?
Yeah.
I was flying. Okay. We just got a dog. Me and my girlfriend just got a dog.
Hey, there it is.
So that's part of my new life story now.
That's good.
So he's 10 months old. He's a Mexican street dog rescue. His name is Charlie, and
nice.
he's getting a shout-out on the air already.
So
he's part of the
Charles
family.
when he's in trouble?
Charles. That's when we have a little sweater that we put on him, and it's like a turtleneck. And he looks like he's like an art critic, and he looks like a Charles.
Yeah,
yes.
we're going to need the picture.
I have the picture. I give it to you. And Chuck, when he gets older and wiser, I'll start calling him Chuck. But he's only 10 months old, so he's Charlie right now.
Minute 57.06.
There it is.
With help.
That's true.
Minute 18, actually.
That's true.
So, look, I've always said it gets easier. The older you get, you can fill up 2 minutes because there's more to talk about.
Yeah.
So
I'm not exactly. There's not enough content in my life yet.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward right now.
Well, let me say, for everybody who has been asking, Chris has done a phenomenal job filling in for Terry Johns on the broadcast. Terry recovering from a medical situation. And Chris, thank you again. From all of us at the Oregon Sports Network, on behalf of all Duck fans, we appreciate you filling in. And Chris is going to be with us here moving forward. And so with Tip-Off Tuesday, Kelly Graves, Grace Van Sluten on the first Tip-Off Tuesday here coming up, the Basketball Coaches Show. Chris, kind enough to join us, and you'll be doing those interviews here moving forward. So thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's been an incredible opportunity for me. I'm very thankful to be courtside there and part of the action. I'm trying to relay by the best of my ability to the fans what I'm seeing and the journey of this team over the course of the season. And everybody has been so welcoming to me, from Joey Mack to Scott Phillips and to Ryan Milano and to Kelly Graves, all the Ducks players. It's been very easy for me to transition in. So I thank you to everybody, and thank you to the fans. Hopefully the fans have enjoyed the broadcast, and I'm looking forward to this season.
Well, here's the biggest compliment I can give. Bev Smith says he's good. When Bev says that somebody's doing something well, I listen. And Bev was like, "No, Chris is great." So we're going to talk about the season.
Sorry, not as good as her bobblehead.
Yeah,
right
did you notice that? Huh?
I saw that.
We've got the Bev Smith bobblehead here in the studio. It's unfortunate though. It's one of the older bobbleheads, and I got to tell you, I had to try really hard to make sure the head didn't fall off.
It's really bobbling.
Yeah, Bev, it really bobbles. It does really, really bobble.
It's her shaking her head in person when I say something dumb.
Yeah,
That's how her head bobbles.
You go. I actually sent her a picture of this when I found it in storage, and I said, "Hey, it's going on the desk now," and she was like, "Oh no." oh no. But yeah, anyway, moving forward, if Bev says that you do a good job, then everybody, I think, is on board. Chris Clayton joining us. So we're going to talk a little bit about the season so far, but I got to ask you, like, you're a guy that grew up loving sports. I know you've been an Oregon fan your whole life. Mm-hmm. I have not asked you this either on the air or off the air. It's a bit of an unfair question, but everybody bear with me, and I think you're going to really appreciate the answer. You're someone that grew up listening to Jerry and Terry more than me, right? I grew up in Santa Cruz in California. So when you put that headset on and the first time you said Oregon Sports Network, seriously, like what were you thinking when you put it on? I know it was probably one thing when you called games at KWVA. You were a voice of an Oregon team, but Oregon Sports Network, like, what was the emotion like for you?
Honestly, I'm glad you asked that. It was emotional for me. It was kind of surreal because I never thought for sure, I never knew in my career if I would come back and have this opportunity. And, you know, like I said, I was in a job in Iowa. Mm-hmm. I was in North Carolina working for different colleges and then for a TV network in North Dakota. And the reality is, in the industry of sports broadcasting and media in general, you just never know. And that's okay. It's still, people have different paths, but it's something that's surreal and a dream of mine to be able to say that and realize. And it kind of hit me in that moment when I was starting that first broadcast. I was like, wow, this is really happening. Because I've been on the air before. I got to the point in my career now where I'm not – people ask sometimes, like, do you get nervous? No, but honestly, I'm focused. I want to do well, but I don't get nervous.
I get anxious more than anything.
Yes. I just – you get the butterflies. You're like, okay, I hope this goes well. Right. I really want this to go well.
Right.
But in that moment, I did get – emotional. It's like, this is really happening. This is an Oregon Ducks broadcast, and it's been incredible. And it's not like that's faded away. I don't take that for granted. It's still something that's powerful and meaningful, and for as long as it's happening, I'm just so thankful. And I have a blast every broadcast, and I try to have fans hear how much fun I'm having with it. Not every game has gone perfectly so far this year, but I still try to have fun with it, and it's even more fun when they're knocking down shots and things are going well.
Broadcaster sounds good when the team is good.
That's right.
I say that all the time. Well, that's awesome. See, this is why I save that for when we're on the air and we can get that reaction. Because, look, I mean, I tell people the same thing. Like, I don't really get nervous per se anymore, but I remember the first time I put on a headset to call an Oregon event, it was an Oregon volleyball game. Elena Bergsma was on the team. Elena Bergsma ended up being the National Player of the Year. She also just was inducted into the Oregon Athletics Hall of Fame, and I had a full circle moment. I don't know if I told you this story. So this will be fun for two KWVA U of O grads. Yeah. So Elena Bergsma remembered me when I went up to her. I was emceeing the Hall of Fame ceremony, and I went up to her, and she was like, yeah, so what are you doing now? Like, I remember you were the guy with the headset that I'd always put on when I was really sweaty and talk to you after the match.
Wow.
And that was when it hit me, like, man, one, it's been 10 years. I've been doing this that long. But two, like, putting that headset on for me at KWVA for the first time, I was like, whoa, this is a thing. And then it's funny, I don't remember having, like, a big reaction when I did baseball because I filled in doing baseball before I was the voice of that team. But the first time I did basketball, it was like, I kind of paused for a second, like went on the air, and it hits you a little bit.
I think back to driving with my dad. You know, we were going to the grocery store, we're driving home, and we turned the radio on and listened to Oregon. Right. And I'm thinking that now that it's my voice going through people's cars, it's my voice going through people's speakers, and I don't take that for granted. It's amazing. It's joy is what it is, but it's surreal.
No, I hear you, and I knew that you would feel that way. So everybody, if you were ever questioning Chris's passion, just dial this up again, because I'm telling you. And when I called you saying, hey, we need some help this year, this is what I was anticipating, which is great. So thanks for being here. All right, now. We have a lot of basketball to talk about. We have a lot of things to discuss, but I'm curious. Everybody always wants to know inner workings of a team, and I do my best to share some of those stories, as you have now, being the voice of the team this year, Chris. What surprised you about the behind the scenes of working with a team that you can share with fans? I mean, like, is there anything that you were kind of like, huh, okay?
I think – I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. I think – for fans, if a team loses a game, I think it's overblown how much confidence they think the team lacks. I think when a team loses a game, people are thinking, oh, they must be so upset. Because I think people have emotion and they get fired up about the team and they want them to win so bad. They get disappointed. And I get that as a fan, as a sports fan, as an Oregon fan. I want the team to win too. And so you get disappointed and you get angry or sad. And I think you're imagining the players are crushed about it. And they are. But what I'm saying is they're still confident. There's still belief behind the scenes. And maybe this isn't the case with every team. But even in the face of adversity and a game that didn't go well, the self-belief the players have and the belief they have in each other, even more importantly, it's still there. And I think it's really powerful to see in the face of disappointment how everybody's able to lean on each other and bounce back and only improve from it. And I think it's something that's been powerful from the coaches and the players.
I think that's a great perspective. I mean, it's the people that are hurting on the bus, for example, post-game, like no one talks.
Yeah.
You know, I that's something that I think, like, I knew that when I started calling games and traveling with teams, because I remember what it felt like even competing, like, in high school. Like, you lose. Like, you don't want to talk to anybody after you lose. But, like, it's silent. I mean, that, like, if you drop your water bottle on the bus, like, you should just get off the bus right then.
Yeah.
Like, not that that's ever happened to me. But, truthfully, like, you know, you're right. It does hit you in a way where – you know they want to get back to practice. That's a good perspective. That's a good perspective.
It's really about – it's disappointing and it's crushing and everybody's really sad, but it's really about, all right, what's next? Let's get back on track and let's win, rather than, oh, no, what happened? You know, it's about, all right, move on, improve.
It is amazing how fast sometimes that turns over also, just speaking from experience. That's Chris Clayton. We're going to take a timeout. More of our conversation talking women's hoops with Chris after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear winter, Toyota can't get enough of you because Toyota's got 22 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/23.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear winter, Toyota can't get enough of you because Toyota's got 22 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/23.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Put your phone on D&D. That means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D. That means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, loss of who you thought you is.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Back in the Country Financial Studio, Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Part 2 of our conversation with the guy who's been on the call for women's basketball for us this year, Chris Clayton, who's got Tip-Off Tuesday with me coming up today, 2:30 if you watch the show live via our various video streams or across the Oregon Sports Network, 7 o'clock tonight, and also on the Oregon Sports Network podcast. Chris Clayton, part 2 of our conversation. I've said before that Duck Insider on a Monday, for example, is like the easiest show to do because you have a whole weekend to talk about, right? Mm-hmm. Well, again, broadcaster sounds good when the team is good. Okay. The other side of that coin is that if it's a Monday and we're recapping. Well, the team by that point, when we're here on a Monday, is already scouting ahead and they're looking ahead. I mean, like even today, for example, Oregon men's basketball at practice will be looking ahead to Cal, even though they don't play until Saturday. We're talking here on a Monday. So
sometimes I'll talk to Kelly Graves later in the week and be like, last weekend this happened, and I can almost see in his eyes being like,
I got to think about
I don't even
that.
remember.
Exactly.
You know? And it's for the best. It's to move on, scout the next opponent, and get the win the next game.
No, it's amazing. You learn from the previous game, but you're always looking ahead. Yeah. That's great perspective. Chris Clayton joining us. So the team so far, look, it's been up and down. I got to tell you, though, this team plays really hard, I think. Honestly, for both men's and women's basketball this year on the floor for Oregon, both these teams play really hard. And as someone who's been around teams that play hard, those are the teams that are fun to root for.
Yes.
You know, and that's what this team has been so far this year.
There's a lot of excuses to kind of be lazy, get disappointed when you're not knocking down shots and things are not going your way. But for this Oregon women's basketball team this year, they lock in. They get more tenacious when things are not going their way offensively. And they've been able to keep themselves in games and nearly win games now a couple times just with that maximum effort. And it's, you know, I think some people might say, like, well, duh, of course you should try. You should be trying hard. But it's not just about that. It's about when you're tired or in the moment in the midst of a possession, you go that extra mile. And this team has done that game in and game out. And it makes it really fun to watch when they start finding that consistency offensively and they start to knock down shots. They go on that long run against USC. Grace Van Sluten gets the and one and makes it a 1-point game. And then you get to the point where it's all coming together. Because when you have a tough schedule and you go through a few losses in a row, you start 0-3 in Pac-12 play, you want your players playing their tail off, learning, and playing together. And this Oregon team has done that. And that's why we hear from Kelly Graves here on Tip-Off Tuesday, and you'll hear his optimism about the team because they're doing the right things. They're very coachable. They're all very likable. They're on the same page, and it's starting to come together. And everybody wants to win every game, but where this team is at, they are getting there, and they're starting to turn a corner, and they're really easy to root for just with the sheer effort they bring to the floor.
Good stuff. Chris Clayton joining us. Now, the personalities on the team, too. Grace Van Sluten, first student-athlete conversation, probably going to talk with almost everybody over the course. You've gotten to know them now. I mean, it's a team that has some really young, energetic players. Like, I think of a Chance Gray, and when Chance is on, Oregon's hard to stop. I don't know. Getting to know the players a little bit, that has to be a cool thing for you.
Yeah, and I think there's some laid-back players on this team, too. And I think at times when you have a laid-back person who maybe is a little bit more quiet, sometimes it can translate into not as much communication on the floor. So I almost feel like sometimes this year there's some more laid-back players and they've tried to ramp up the communication. But this is a really fun team that is very direct. I noticed they like to tease one another. They're very honest and direct with one another, but they're all really close. You know, they go back to the trip they had to Europe this past summer, and they all got on the same page. And it's almost like a sibling situation where at first you're like, well, that was kind of mean, and you're like, no, they're just teasing.
Right.
You know, it's like a sister situation. And so this team, they're all very close. You can tell how close they are, and that's why when things are not going well, they can be honest and have those discussions with one another and kind of anticipate what their reaction's going to be.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a younger team too. Like I think that people have thought because of the success of the program that you're just going to have those years where it goes and gets better and better and better. And, you know, that's certainly the goal. But a young team as well with a lot of sophomores that you're asking to be really consistent, that's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, you think about the most consistent starting five this year. In the backcourt, you've got a sophomore in Chance Gray. You've got a true freshman in Sophia Bell.
Right.
You've got a sophomore in Grace Van Sluten and a sophomore in Kennedy Basham. And then a junior in Philly Che, who started playing basketball a little bit later in her life. And so that's a young team. And in the Pac-12, you're playing some of the nation's best players and some of the nation's most experienced players. With the transfer portal, you've got 23, 24-year-olds out there that you're playing against. And that's what is also really exciting for Oregon is there's a lot of untapped potential from these young Oregon players that is only blossoming and growing over the course of the season. You know, these players have the resumes from their high school careers and with the Team USA basketball season in this past summer, and you can see it starting to play out on the courts, and it's really about finding that consistency now together because the talent is there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, too, to see. Like, you saw UCLA, USC, two of the top teams in the country this past weekend. Ducks pushed them at times. You know, I feel like, and especially in me listening to you and watching the games, like, you see glimpses of how good the team can be. I guess now it's about consistency, isn't it?
It is. I mean, defensively, they have found that consistency. You've got a 6'8" starter in the post and a 6'7". I mean, first of all, 6'8" and 6'7", that's daunting. And they found a lot of success with that. There was a time just a couple games ago before they played two top 10 teams in a row. They were top 20 in the nation in 2-point percentage defense. And it makes sense. You try to drive and you've got the arm of a 6'8" and a 6'7" player in your face. So that's been huge. And now, you think back to the UCLA game, right? UCLA's number 2. They're probably the best team in the country, or I should say arguably the best team in the country. And the Ducks didn't have Chance Gray. So that game coming in, it was how are they going to win? Defense.
Right.
And they were locking down early. I mean, UCLA early in that game was shooting 20% from the field, and they contained Lauren Betts, especially early in that game. And eventually UCLA was able to score 75 points, but that was 15-plus points from their season average. So the defensive success was there. And then you go to the UCLA game, they got Chance Gray back healthy, and that's when the offense really got going. They kind of went cold down the stretch in the final 4 minutes and had times where there were some slumps against a really good defensive team in USC, but you can see the team starting to get more explosive. They have kind of jostled with the offensive system a little bit. They've started to go to a little bit of a triangle offensively in terms of 3 players working together. So they're making those adjustments, and when they're hitting threes, I think it's going to be important. So that's Sophia Bell, Chance Gray, maybe Grace Van Sluten. She hit one this weekend if she can get the 3-ball going. Priscilla Williams off the bench. That's when they'll be tough because there's stretches where Philly Che's unstoppable.
Yeah.
I mean, she's going against Rhea Marshall, who's one of the elite defensive post players in college basketball, and Philly Che was dominating. I mean, she was 4 for 4 with 8 points. Even against Lauren Betts, she held her own. So you have that post scoring. If Oregon can hit threes, that's when they're a complete offensive team, and you pair their 2-3 zone defense that's been so successful with a balanced offense. That's where things can come together. And sometimes basketball is simple. You got to make shots, and if Oregon can do that, there is a long season, still 15 games in Pac-12 play left.
Yeah, and it goes fast. I mean, it's always amazing. Tip-off Tuesday, admittedly, it kind of sneaks up on me because it's right after the first of the year. Football comes to close, and it's like, all right, basketball coaches show, let's go.
Right.
And it always kind of sneaks up on me, and then before I realize it, we've talked to like every student-athlete on both rosters. We've talked to all the assistant coaches. We've talked to Coach Graves a bunch, and then it's like, oh, it's a Pac-12 tournament.
Yeah.
Okay. Basketball season does move quickly. There's no doubt about it. All right, well, I could talk to you for hours. We're going to do that on Tip-Off Tuesday. Chris Clayton will be with us for Tip-Off Tuesday, talking with Kelly Graves and Grace Van Sluten this week. Chris, thanks for being a Duck, buddy.
Hey, thanks.
I appreciate it.
Love the opportunity. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Anytime, buddy. You're welcome anytime.
All right.
And he'll be back with us for Tip-Off Tuesday coming up this afternoon. If you watch the show live, 2:30 to 3:30 here, we've got Dana Altman, Kelly Graves, Grace Van Sluten, Jermaine Kusnard on the show today. And to be honest, we have a packed show, and we will have at least clips from all of those interviews on Duck Insider as well. And then today, Dana Altman's scheduled to meet with the media. He'll talk with the general media. We'll have that for you this week. Previewing a Cal matchup where, look, Golden Bears are feeling pretty good, coming off that win over UCLA, so we'll break that down. Also, tomorrow, Nils Schelander is going to join us, and I'm excited for that. Yeah, that's going to be fun. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, the week schedule, and indoor track and field starts this week, too. Coming back to the Country Financial Studio in a moment here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that. I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. No Oregon athletic events tonight, Wednesday, or Thursday, but women's basketball back in action Friday at 7 o'clock against Arizona State. It's at Matthew Knight Arena. One of the rare weekends where both men's and women's basketball are at home the same weekend. 7 o'clock on Friday, televised on Pac-12 Oregon. Of course, Chris Clayton will have the pregame show across the Oregon Sports Network starting at 6:30 on Friday. Then it's men's basketball, 5 o'clock on Pac-12 Network on Saturday. I'll have a 4:30 pregame show for you across the Oregon Sports Network. And then on Sunday, women's basketball against Arizona, Pac-12 Oregon at noon, 11:30 a.m., the pregame show with Bev Smith and Chris Clayton. And then it's the MLK holiday. We'll have a Monday off across the University of Oregon. And then indoor track and field is back in action this weekend. They will be at the Washington Indoor Preview up in Seattle on Saturday. Preview on GoDucks.com coming from Zach Lawson, our sports information director extraordinaire for Oregon Track and Field. And hopefully we'll, in the next couple weeks, be able to have Coach Schumacher join us, talk a little bit about where the Ducks are in the indoor season. And then it's amazing in the indoor season. It'll be outdoor season before we've even thought about indoor season. It happens so fast. And you know, the way that you deploy your roster in these meets, not everyone's going to compete in every meet. You want to have those qualifying times that lead to the performance in nationals. Sometimes my head spins with track and field and the way that you have to try to project out to peak at the right time and peak for those qualifying times. That's the schedule ahead. Nil Sheelander going to be with us on the show tomorrow. We'll talk a little men's tennis. Actually, I said tomorrow, Thursday, Nil Sheelander will be with us. Rob Mosley's going to join us tomorrow. And Tip-Off Tuesday coming your way this afternoon and this evening. Basketball Coaches Show. It's basketball season. See you then.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
For many military veteran caregivers, their caregiving journey starts earlier in life and lasts